Recording in progress.
Going live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Military Monday. It's your host, Vanessa, here with Your Life Beyond the Military. And we're just going to jump into it because, we're in the military or we're retired military, but we still think we have schedules, we have structure, we want to get in and out. That's just how we operate. So today, I have the pleasure of having Louis Orta with me. He's coming in from California, and I'm in Florida. So we're on the East and West Coast. And thank you so much for joining us bright and early on your day here. And basically, if you saw any of our notes that we've been sending out on LinkedIn Live, we are talking to a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Hoorah! So I hope some Marines are here to give him some support. And we are talking about a subject matter that just needs to be talked about. It's not talked about enough. People don't express it. They don't word it. And I saw a post that Louis made on LinkedIn about the challenges of struggling with transitioning from the military to civilian life and what that looks like and the emotions and feelings from the military perspective side. So this is for military members that are still active duty, that are retiring. I mean, this is great information, great nuggets that you can take away for how to make maybe a smoother transition. It's also great information for, like you mentioned, employers and people out there that are working with the military that don't maybe understand how we're going to like trigger and react to things, right? And so I'm the spouse, but it's like I get triggered too, like my Marine now. So this is something that we really want to talk about. It can be a very lonely environment when you're getting out. You know, just imagine your whole life has been dictated for you, where to go, what to do, what to dress, when to eat, bathroom, shower, everything. And all of a sudden, from one day to the next, you are your own boss. So I would say it takes a few years to get our bearings from what I've learned, even with the spouses, the vets themselves. It could take some time to get your bearing. And Louis is going to share his personal journey with that and, finding a new living purpose after retirement and the struggles with that. I mean, I think he was probably searching and doing some things before he started his insurance business a few years later. So it takes a hot minute, as one of my coaches used to say. It takes a hot minute to get your bearings. A hot minute. I like that. Huh? Sounds very like military like. So Louis, just tell us a little more about where you're coming in from your journey, and I'll mention people in the chat here. Wow, we got Tammy joining us, Brian. Oh my goodness, and thank you, Jeffrey Knight. Thank you guys. They're chiming in.
Hey guys. Okay, welcome in.
So I know we don't have time to do the whole story of how you joined the Marine Corps and all that, but towards the end, like going back to that season of transitioning, let's get back in that mindset of you're getting out. It's maybe 1 to 3 years prior. What's life looking like?
Well, I gotta throw it out there. I was married to my first wife.
Okay.
I was one of those young Marines who got married while I was in, and that played a big part in my transition there. It was really kind of a weird journey, a big long journey of self-discovery that I didn't even know that I was in. Right? I was like, okay, here I am. Like, what do I even do? Right? I couldn't ask for help for my higher ups because they don't know what transition was like. Like they were still in. They didn't know. So it was kind of just like, just go figure it out. I heard through the grapevine that this is what it's going to be like. So just go do it. And it's like, okay, Roger that. And then, there I am. I'm off to the races to try to figure out what it's going to look like for me outside of the military.
That's so true. People have said that more and more, and we don't think about that. When you're in the military, the mission is the military. The mission is making you guys combat ready. That's the mission. The mission is not helping you have a peaceful and smooth transition out for the rest of your life or your second season. So like you say, your higher ups and all that, they're still in mission mode. They're on like, we've got schedules, we've got timelines, we've got movements going on. And your mind's halfway out. Like, I got to support my family when I leave the military. I've got a wife and kids, and what's that going to look like? Where am I going to work? Am I going to be fully retired? And you've got all these other questions that you're trying to answer, but the chain of command is not going to sit down and in a counseling session with you and go over that, right? So there's a lot of
right.
Figure it out yourself. And, luckily there's more and more resources out there, which I'll put in the chat. People can reach out to us too. So there's ways to help. I think we've come a bit of a way, forward from before, but there's still a huge gap. And from what I'm understanding, like that 3-day TAP class that you guys do, that's just, it's a nice, start, but it needed to start like 3 years prior. I was saying 1 year, but the more I talked to military community, they're saying like 3 years before you get out would have been a reasonable amount of time to really start laying out your next foundation for all the steps, all the boxes you have to, check out from the medical. The medical alone could take months to make sure that's set up. So if you're
Yeah,
doing that all
yeah,
in 3 days, like something's gonna fall through the cracks. And it's
yeah.
usually the important stuff like your VA, disability claim rating and things like that.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. One bit of information I got early on from an older veteran before I joined, he said, make sure that you document like all of your medical stuff, because when you're trying to get out, you've gone through the whole process of being a tough Marine, right? Like you don't want to be tough. You don't want to flood your medical record with a bunch of stuff. So the guy told me like make sure you document everything, and I was like, okay, cool, man. I'm gonna document everything. And there was times where
Yeah.
I even got in, back and forth with my staff sergeant. He's like, why are you gonna go to BAS for this? And I was like, well, because I gotta look after my back because it's jacked up. Because if I don't look out for it, you're not gonna look out for it. And in the end result, it was a smoother transition from the medical standpoint, for me getting out. Because had I not
Mhm.
had that information, like a lot of my buddies, they refused to go. They're still in the VA system trying to figure out like, hey, like, can I get rating for this? How can you prove that it's service connected? Because there's just no documentation. Right.
So true. And I do those complimentary VA disability ratings. So send them my way if your buddies are feeling stuck and
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
they don't have their rating they deserve. So yeah, and it's so true. It's kind of like I use the analogy of maybe even working on a resume for the spouse. We have a lot of employment gaps as we move around with our husbands and around the world with the military. So there's gaps in employment. And then, of course, it's harder to market ourselves because it's like, oh, what have you just been sitting at home on a couch eating potato chips? It's like, no, I've been running a family. And actually, we moved to like 5 different countries around the globe. And, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But what I learned too, like you're saying, keeping track of those medical records was the same thing with the resume, because we can kind of forget all the different volunteer positions we had. Like I was a key volunteer in different places, and all of our jobs that we've cycled around every 2 to 3 years, new job. And if I forget to write down the job, the job I had and the work I did and all those bullet points of, how I spent my time, like 2, 3 years later, it's like a whirlwind. And we're in like, the Middle East now. And I'm like, wait, what did we do when we lived in Trinidad and Tobago? And so same thing as your medical record, I would say for the spouses, like keep that journal, keep that resume going with bullet points. You can edit it and alter it for whatever job you're going for in the future if you're going back to work. But yeah, you have to kind of keep those bullet points going as you're moving, because 2 or 3 years will go by in the blink of an eye, and then you're like, dang, I don't even remember the name of that company I worked for.
Yeah.
you know,
Seriously.
yeah, things go bad. So they get off track real quick. So that's an awesome tip to do the documenting before. So for you, your experience was the medical side was smoother. So now what about more like the personal mindset side? How was that?
That was so challenging. And I think in the post, I remember posting there saying that me and a buddy were just reflecting back on how lonely it was for us. Just because there's so many things at play. Like here we are, we're connected with this with a bunch of people who just have your back, right? Like no matter through life and death, right? They have your back. And then all of a sudden, and especially for me, like we got back from my second deployment, and 3 months later, I was to EAS. So in those 3 months of being back, that's when everybody's out like doing their own thing. They're just getting used to being back in the civilian life, and then they're like, Louis is getting out soon, so he's gonna do whatever he wants, right? Like just, and I'm just like, dude, like what the heck do I do? You know what I mean? I'm going to these classes those 3 days, and it wasn't nothing at all. And then here I am. I eat, yes, I have a wife. I have to move from closer to our base down up north a little bit,
You have to move
and
off base, right? Like you're moving off
yeah,
the base now.
yeah, and it's like, okay, what the heck, dude? And we move in, and I don't know if this is common, but I hear it a lot. But we move in with my wife's parents to just get on our feet for a little bit, and stack up some chips so we can afford down payments and things like that, because things are
Mm.
things are expensive, right? And then figuring out, okay, what are you gonna do, Louis, for work? And here I am. I'm an infantryman in the Marine Corps, and I don't know what kind of job I can land other than go into some kind of law enforcement. It's like, but even then, that takes time to go through the academy and all that. It's like, the heck do I do? So I ended up landing like a, I don't know, like a $10, 10.50 an hour job as a security guard at a mall.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
it's like, dude, like what
Combat
the heck,
veteran
man?
with all that experience, and you can't translate your skill set. And here you are, $10 working at a mall trying to support a family.
Yeah, right. And it's ridiculous. And that's when I realized like, okay, I really do need to do something. So I simply just went on Google and I was like, okay, what is one of the most secure jobs moving into, the future? And some medical field stuff came up and respiratory therapist came up. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do that. I knew nothing about the medical field. I was like, this sounds kind of cool. It's secure. Like, there's room for improvement. They get paid well. And I went to school for respiratory therapy. But in that time for respiratory therapy, and to make it sound fancy, it's cardiovascular therapist, right? So, ooh.
Fancy. You're pretty much a doctor.
Yeah.
I would want you to sew me up probably. If I was injured, I'm going to a Marine to get fixed up.
That's funny. That's
Alive.
funny. Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny because we were going through it. Like we were working on the ventilators, right? So when you people are on life support, those ventilators, that's what I went to school for, and I graduated and all that.
Wow.
And I remember like when we had somebody on life support, right? And they're like, okay, who's gonna do it? And I was like, I got it, man. Like I'll pull the plug. Like it's just, and
Oh my
people were
goodness.
so afraid, and I realized like I wasn't afraid of that. But then now years later, looking back on that, as I like got into mindfulness and things like that, I was like, wow, like I was really really like, I don't know, kind of messed up, like just like, well, that's not a big deal, this is somebody's life. And I was like, no problem, like that's
You were
cool.
prepared. You were
The
coming out of
car.
combat. You were coming out
Yeah,
of part. You were totally prepared, just like what needs to be done. Let's get it done. And
yeah,
now, yeah, it's a little different, but yeah, gosh, the skill set they had, nobody wanted to do it. And you're just like, all right, this is life. I mean, you were in a
yeah,
different mindset. You were in like just saving a life and combat, like it trained you, and you were right there to do that job. But over
yeah,
time,
yeah.
so what happened over time then in that, is that like a very high stress job? Or because you probably Marines and military in general, I would say they're just equipped and trained to handle so much stress, like the level of stress and adrenaline that you guys can have, and women out there that are in the military, it's amazing. Because the rest of us are like screaming and fight or flight. My husband was wrestling an alligator the other day, like he literally fell off the paddleboard, but that's
Nice.
another story. But only the Marine. My kids are like, well, of course dad survived. The paddle broke, but dad survived. Well, that's another story. I need to just do a whole sitcom on that. But yeah, so that mindset shift of, yeah, you're like, just get it done. But then how long did you stay in that position? And then did it end up transitioning to something else? Or
Yeah, I ended up staying in that for about 6 months, and then after I graduated, I tried my a hand in that field, and there was just a lot of office politics going on in the hospitals and things like that, and just like people in leadership positions who I just did not like vibe with at all. So I was like, look,
yeah,
I can't do it. I'm not meant to play office politics. I want to come in, do my job, have control of my own schedule, and do what I got to do, and then bounce out. Like I don't want to do all that.
how
So
long was the certification process?
it was about 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of energy. Put 2 years into that, and then 6 months in the actual, like you're doing it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting myself in this like whirlwind tornado of office politics, bad vibe, bad energy. Is this, and you got to ask yourself, is this what I'm going to keep doing, or do I pivot
Yeah.
again? Right.
Yeah, yeah, and I had to make quick decisions. Like there was things going on in my life, and while I was in school, I was going through a divorce. I went through the divorce. It was supposed to be clean, wasn't so
Never
clean.
is.
You're right, what I mean. And then like that's when I went on this whole journey of like, okay, who the heck am I now? Like I got out of the Marine Corps. I was married. Now I'm not married anymore. I'm a single dude, like living on my own. Like now what? And of course, with all of the traumas and things, like I just went on total bingers all the time, and I was just like, yeah, it was not good. I was on my journey of self discovery, and from then to where I am now is like, dude, what the heck, dude? Like,
You didn't know. We only know what we know, you know? And maybe the fact that you were kind of single too, walking through that alone is even more lonely. Like I've been married 26 years to my spouse. So when he got out, like the wives are right there behind him, like, are they okay? Are they feeling okay? Are they going to go into depression? Like we got all kinds of thoughts in our head, but you know, a
Yeah.
little more of a support system at home with someone else in your corner. You're coming home to like an empty home with like a major life shift of a divorce because a lot in the military get married young, and then after a
Yeah.
while it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't my soulmate or something, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you had
So
so yeah, then you moved on, you decided this is not for me. So then what happened after the cardio ventilator?
so I decided to start up my own home care business. And I did that for about 8 months or so. But then I started getting letters in the mail from a company that I had worked with saying, you need to, this is a cease and desist. You're taking our clients away from us and you need to stop. So I didn't have anything legal set up or anything like that. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just go in there, DBA, whatever it up, and I got these big, fancy letters. I was like, okay, so I stopped completely. I was like, I'm not getting involved in this. And then I threw my resume up on Monster, and then I was recruited by a Fortune 100 company in the U.S. for insurance, and I was like, let me just hear it out. I knew nothing about insurance. I just hear it out, and I sat in a little tiny room, and they're like, you can be your own boss, you can make your own decisions, you can build your own team, your own culture, you can make lots of money. And I was like, check, check, check. Like this is it for me, right? And that was my introduction into the insurance industry, and from there, it's just been a great path for me because I do have my own time, which means like on the days that I was struggling with my own life, right? Just like depression and things like that, anxiety, PTSD. Like I didn't have to go into work and try to put on a fake smile, and I had time to really work through things and discover, right? Discover myself. And sometimes that led to self medicating on alcohol, right? Which not the great thing to do, but that's part of the
Mhm.
journey, right? The transition.
Right.
And fast forward, I don't know, till 2019. So I got in 2012, 6 years. That's when I really started getting a hold of myself and being
Yourself,
grounded.
your
Yeah,
demons, your
yeah,
saboteurs, all that stuff.
yeah. And
Those 6 years, I so appreciate your vulnerability because, you know, that's huge. And we want people to know that it's normal to feel this way and you're not alone in these thoughts. Like this is a normal thing that happens with military transitioning and completely reinventing themselves. So I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing and you know, just the reality that it was like a 6 year process. This was not like get out, go talk to, you know, maybe one therapist and figure it out. It's just a trial by fire kind of and trial and error. But, you know, now I say it's not failure, it's feedback. Everything is feedback, I say. So, so yeah, I really appreciate that. And
yeah,
so once you've gotten the hold of yourself with that, yeah, I can tell your energy, your vibe, you're available, you're personable, you know. So who wouldn't want to be working with Louis? So yeah, if you need needs insurance reimagined, at least go have a conversation with him. And one thing that I'm thinking too, when you're saying like self-care and working on yourself, we talked a little before we went live on meditation stuff. So tell us maybe some things that you can share with the military community out there, things that did work for you that helped you maybe do less self-medicating. Actually, I one of my taglines is meditation, not medication, you know, like
oh, there you go. Yeah,
use that sometimes since I'm a certified life coach with Mind Valley and do breath work and 6 phase meditation, all that stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, like you talk to some military people, like even my husband, the Marine, he's just like, shoot, what? Go cut the grass, go pull some weeds. That's how you take care of it, you know. But I want to hear from Louie's way to take care because everybody handles stress and triggers different. So tell us more about your self-care world and what that looks like and the
Okay,
Peloton
okay.
ride that goes behind you too. So
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that green space. You got a lot to talk about.
Yes. Okay. So, from a self care standpoint, let me just say my introduction to self care was um, at the birth of my daughter. My daughter
Mm,
was like, okay, here she is. I was like, okay, Louis, you need to get your stuff together, man. and I wasn't getting any real help from the VA. So my wife now is a nurse, and I went to go seek care, mental health care from an outside provider from Kaiser. And just that's when I was introduced to grounding. Right, if I'm triggered, I plant my feet on the ground,
Do you have
breath
shoes on
work.
right now, or are you barefoot?
Can I show my feet? I'm barefoot.
I'm barefoot too. We're both barefoot, right? Like there's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
about grounding, even if we have to be on carpet. But yeah, so
Yes, yeah,
grounding, okay.
absolutely.
What?
So grounding, breath work, and just talking through like, hey, like, dude, Louis, you're okay, man. Like, you're okay. And all this really started because obviously I wanted to be the best person possible for my daughter and my family, right? So I think what's very important is for people to realize like, hey, this is worth looking into because of whatever it is, right? Because you're a parent, because you're a spouse. So I would encourage everybody to just do some self-reflection of like, hey, like, is my life gonna look like, and what is
Yeah.
it worth fighting for, right? Like,
Like, what's your
absolutely.
why, right?
Like,
What's
what's
your
your why?
why?
Yeah,
Like, your
yeah,
daughter was born, you're like, I got my why now. It was similar with
yeah,
me and my daughter. When she was born, I was like, I need some help with Jesus and God. And I ran to a church. My husband's deployed. I was like, that baby came out and it's split second, right?
yeah,
Like it changes things. So that
yeah,
was your
yeah,
why. So that's a
yeah,
good point. People
yeah,
need to find their why, and it can look different for everybody. But you got to find like what gets you excited, what drives you to get out of bed, and to get dressed and go interact in the world. Like you got to find that why.
yeah, yeah. And if you can't find the why, search for the what if. Like, what if you don't get this fixed? Then boom, like, what if? Then your wife will, or your spouse will be pissed off all the time. Or your kid might not like you as much, right? So if the why doesn't work, find the what if, right? And that's
Mm,
for people who have those different mindsets of like, what is their motivator, right?
that's
Are they
great.
motivated?
Okay,
Okay, so what I
grounding.
do,
We went into. Then what else?
and then just literally just like get comfortable with being with yourself and your own thoughts. So this is where the meditation comes in, and it was so hard for me to get started in this, but luckily I'm gonna do a shout out to the Peloton here, because Peloton has an app on your phone or any device, and there is a meditation section there, and you literally just sit there. It's guided meditation, so it's a great entry, right? And they're just
Mhm.
letting you know what to think about, what to work on, and that has been a complete game changer for me, because I could just sit there, and usually I'm like, what do I even think about? Like, I've tried
Mm.
self-guided meditation, but I'm not good at that. My brain just like everywhere, right?
Yeah. So you like
um,
the guided meditation with someone leading the conversation, kind of, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and just being exposed to nature. If you can't get outside, then set your place up where it's nice and relaxing. Like, I can
I mean, you
kind of
have
make
a
it like,
Zen space going on there. You were showing the. I mean,
we
you're
have.
good Lord. This is like so inspirational because people are like, well, I
Yeah,
can't. I don't live near a park, and I'm not doing the van life like Vanessa. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, okay, now who's doing the plants? You have the green thumb, and that is meditation. My husband, I guess, does spend a lot of time in the garden. That's his grounding. He walks around barefoot and he digs, and he's planted all the fruit trees in our yard in Florida.
love it.
Things just fall, and he's so, now that I think about it, yeah, he might not sit and do breath work, but he's grounding by touching the plants and pruning the trees and all, wiping down the leaves so that they're shiny. Like he sees stuff I don't
Yeah,
see out there. So who's taking
yeah.
care of your plants back there? They're
So
all real,
so
right?
all the plants are real. That's my wife. My wife does that. She went on a plant spree not too long ago, and I was just like, yeah, like, do it. I'm not gonna say much about it. Like, do what you gotta do. You got a good eye. You know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Just
the
do it,
energy,
because
like you're breathing fresh air.
yeah, yeah, it's so good. There's like a little fountain inside the plant in this enclosure, and you open up the door, you can hear the water just running, and you just sit there and breathe. Like, it's so good. Sweet.
Do you
Oh
see
man.
like you're like a different side of Louis Orta from like 10, 15 years ago, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. When I meet people today, they're like, "Well, dude, you're in the military." I was like, "Yeah." Like, "Then where'd you serve?" In the Marine Corps. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "Well,
I
what'd you
know.
do in the Marine Corps?" "Oh, I was infantry, like recon." They're like, "Oh my god!" And it's like, I never would have guessed. And I'm very proud of that because I got past that statement like, oh, you're not some hard, grrr, like knife handing everybody every time you walk through. It's like, no, dude, like we're good. You know what I mean? Like we can be better than what the stigma
Yes.
is, than what the stereotype
Yes.
is. And I
Mm,
absolutely love that. And
that's beautiful.
I know we have a few minutes left, and I want to share. Like you mentioned to me that your husband has a hard time getting into the meditative state, but you also shared with a group of us not too long ago on a call, the campfire, sitting by the campfire, right? And I just automatically went to like, man, I wish I could just sit back and just watch the fire and just like silence. It's like mutual silence where everyone's just like in their own thoughts, watching a campfire. Like
Yeah.
that is meditation, and that is so meditative.
That's
Like,
so true. I'm so like the perfectionist in me, the saboteur is like, oh, he should be doing this, but no, he's my husband's amazing. Yeah, he does the yard work, the grounding, and then the boat when on the boat, like ocean therapy, everything on the water, the fishing, the tactile of tying the knots. Like he's
mm,
finding ways to stay ground. Without any of that, I don't even know what it'd be like right now. Married 26 years, so the campfire is huge. So I'm so glad you brought that up because yeah, camping. Oh my gosh, it's like one of my favorite parts of setting up. We get to campgrounds and boondocking sites like by 3 or 4, we like to be settling down. You get into your groove, but by 3 or 4 is our sweet spot because we want to like gently go into the evening with the sun setting and cooking and setting out our front porch area. Not it's not fun rushing at like 10 at night, yelling at each other, where are we parking? Going to the Walmart lot, like that's not how
yeah,
we want to our
yeah,
it
yeah.
happens because you're learning as you're doing the camping life, and I do van life consulting too, so I can help you like avoid some of those mishaps we did. But part of the fun is even just going to the campground, and sometimes I try to cheat and be like, can we just pick up some firewood along the way? And he would be like, why? We're going to go into the woods and get our own. Why would we pay? And I'm like, it's just $5. It's just $7. But it's the whole experience of going back to nature and picking up the branches with your own hands and building the little teepee thing. And of course, he's got his
Mm,
little Vaseline cotton ball trick, the rigor. He doesn't leave home without that. So yeah, and when that fire is crackling and snapping and popping, and you're just sitting there like that, there is fire energy too. There's fire therapy
yeah,
about
yeah.
stuff like that. So don't recommend it in your home in the city, but definitely if you can get out into nature. I think my dad had a rental sometime somewhere in DC, and we went and had to go get it back and sell it and clear it out. And someone was actually with their little like hibachi grill, someone from overseas cooking in the living room, like there was a hole
Oh
in the
my,
carpet. So please don't do that, guys. But
do not.
yeah, get out into nature where you can. Like if Google a state park. We never grew
Mhm.
up with it in either of our lives, so this has been a whole new season once the pandemic hit and we ended up off road, off grid, doing the nature thing. We're like, oh my gosh, this is like God's hidden beauty, like all around us, and people are not tapping into it, and it's free.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
boondocking is free. There's wildlife management parks you can camp in free. There are those, organized campsites for people that have the big class A's and need to go, maybe where there's laundry or they like to have the pool and the social interaction. But there's all kinds of different levels of camping. But yeah, get out there into nature. So it has been awesome having this conversation for yeah, like 20-25 minutes on just where you came from in the military, what you've learned, how your journey was growing to this side. And I mean, you've got fan clubs, all these people here. So with someone else joined here, Plowman from my group, Lillian, thank you guys so much for joining the conversation. Everybody's giving out shout outs to Louis. So
Hello,
what
hello.
would
I
you
can't see anything.
I know we can't see anything. It's a weird LinkedIn live. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the free version. I don't know, but we're getting the message out there. So, what would you like to leave people with? How can they reach you? And any other final thoughts or tips? But you said you've given some great feedback so far. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, what I would like to leave everybody with, if you're a supporter, if you are a spouse of somebody who is transitioning out of the military, just have a lot of patience with them. Trying to find patience, grace, and try to understand what they're going through. I don't know if we can, Vanessa, if we can share a link to the post that I put out that started this conversation. That way,
Mm-hmm.
some people can just go back and look at it and maybe save that, just for a little bit of understanding on how to handle or work through the transitioning phase. And you can find me, I believe, on here. there's a link. It's the dot card/Louis Orta. That's a direct link to all of my contact information, all my socials, my email, my phone number. I am in insurance financial services, but more importantly, I actually have a team. So I have about a team of about 240 agents across the nation who I help really get trained, develop, and leverage other trainers to train people just like you. So if you're transitioning military, if you're a spouse who's looking for something that you can do while you're on the road, not be tied down to one specific location, this is something that I can help you out with. Get your license locked in and educate military families around finance 101, insurance, and all that good stuff. So please feel free to reach
Mm.
out to me, and I would definitely love to have a conversation with you guys.
Excellent. Somebody else put some resource in the chat, ets2industry.org with Brian. And I'll put stuff, I'm going to upload it probably to YouTube so I can put those description links in there. I'll add also Aaron with Pre-Veteran. I don't know if anybody's connected with him, but there's a whole Pre-Veteran group now that's actually helping guys get through when they're active duty. They're catching them before the transition, just like you, like all those
Oh,
things we didn't get help with. They're catching them before, and they've got workshops and training, for different career paths or whatever they're looking to get into to help. So that's called Pre-Veteran. I'm going to put a shout out for him too, because they're doing amazing work, help really catching them.
man, it's awesome.
That
I'd love
spot.
to get contact with them.
Yeah, I will set you up. I'll do a group share with you guys for sure.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much. And to reach Vanessa Donaldson here, you can go to resetwithvanessa.com. And there is a drop down too to do the disability audits for anybody that is just having questions about their rating. If they think they should be compensated more, I do a complimentary audit with you. And I'm an affiliate with a third party company that helped my husband maybe like 5-7 years ago. So definitely advocate getting help just to get your hand off the stove, unless you want to sit there and go through the VA claim all by yourself, one by one, 1 year after 1 year. That's enough to just put you in, a straitjacket. So we are here for you. We hope that we brought you some value today. Ran a couple minutes over, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Louis. You're amazing. You're
Thanks,
an
Vanessa.
inspiration. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Maybe do something
Cool.
again in the future. Take care,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye.